8 waste of lean manufacturing. Anything that does not increase value in the eyes of customer must be considered as waste or muda, and every effort should be made to eliminate these 8 deadly waste of lean. So without wasting any further time, let us look at each one of them in more detail. Hello and welcome to yet another video series from Digital E-Learning, your one-stop solution for all your learning needs. So what are 8 waste of lean? So eliminating waste was one of the ideas of the founding fathers of lean manufacturing, Taichi Ono. He identified 3 major areas that have a negative impact on work process. So these were Muda, Muri and Mura. One of those groups, Muda, that is waste, groups all the wasteful activities that take place. So before diving into the 8 waste, it is important to understand what the waste is. Waste is any action or step in a process that does not add any value to the end customer. In other words, waste is any process that customer does not want to pay for it. So everything that is done in a company is divided into two groups. So one we have value added activities and other one is the non value added activities or waste. Generally speaking, the value added activities is nothing that customers pay for it, and the waste is anything that customer does not care about. And if you look at the graphical display, around 5% of the activities that we do is the value added. Rest 95 is the non value added activities. And what are our customers paying for it? So they are paying for value added or the non value added activities. So we must make an aim to reduce this non value added activities and focus more on value added activities. Traditionally, lean identifies 8 different categories of waste, which is given by acronym as downtime. DOWNTIME, where D denotes the defect, O denotes the overproduction, W denotes the waiting time, and denotes the non-utilized talent. T denotes the transportation or transport. I denotes the inventory. M denotes the motion. And finally, the E denotes the excess production. Let us look at each one of them in more detail. The first category of waste is transportation. So transportation is nothing but the unnecessary movement of raw material, working process or finished good. The actual transportation of product adds no value and is therefore essential to minimize these costs and avoid moving material or resources. In lean manufacturing, movement is very important from delivery trucks of supplies and product to the movement of machinery and people. Often the transportation may force you to pay additional for time, space and machinery. In general, transportation waste can be caused by poor plant and office layout, unnecessary or excessive steps in the process, misaligned process flow, and the poorly designed system. Let us look at some of the countermeasures that you can take to avoid this transportation waste. First is the value stream mapping, where you can design a linear and sequential flow of raw material from to finished good. You can eliminate all the processes steps that does not add any value. Continuous flow. Make sure work in process is not placed into the inventory and there is a continuous flow of work that is happening. Theory of constraint. Avoid continual changing of job priorities. These are some of the countermeasures for avoiding transportation waste. The second category of waste is the inventory. So it is a product, either raw material or work in process or finished good quantities that goes beyond supporting the immediate need. So these excessive inventories is often the result of company holding the just in case inventories. In such cases, company overstock themselves in order to meet the unexpected demand or protect from the production delays. However, these excessive inventories often don't meet the customer need and don't add any value. They only increase the storage cost and the depreciation cost. So any kind of material that you have but you are not working on it right now is a waste. You have already paid for it, but it is merely sitting in your inventory, which is adding around 50 to 60% of its total value. So this inventory basically hides all your waste, and reducing the inventory will uncover the opportunities to improve. So you can, in general, inventory can be caused by overproduction, misunderstood customer needs, long setup time, poor monitoring system, and unreliable suppliers. Just in case. And when we talk about the countermeasures for avoiding this waste inventory, you can just follow the just in time philosophy, one piece flow, talk time, Kanban, and SMAD, that is single minute exchange of ties. The third category of waste is motion, where motion is the unnecessary movement of people, movement that does not add any value. This kind of waste includes movement of employees or machinery which are complicated and unnecessary. They can cause injuries, extended production time, and more. In other words, do whatever is necessary to arrange a process where the workers needed to do little bit as possible to finish their job. In general, motion waste can be caused by poor shop floor layout, workstation congestion, lack of standards, isolated operations, and the countermeasures for avoiding this motion could be to have a 5S working management system in place, develop a value stream mapping, one piece flow, better work, and people planning. The fourth category of waste is waiting. So the waiting occurs when someone in the process chain waits to take the next action in the process. When the process of task is slow or halted, time is wasted. And if employee is waiting on completion of the previous task, they cannot start the next process. Patience may be a virtue in the one personal life. However, in lean manufacturing, it is a cancer. The time is money line didn't come from nowhere. It is so true in lean manufacturing. Waiting on things to begin in business is a slow killer in momentum and in production time. So when the goods or tasks are not moving, waiting occurs. This is probably the easiest waste you can recognize. It is also identifiable because lost time is the most obvious thing you can detect. It could be the goods waiting to be delivered, it is a time for equipment waiting to be fixed, etc. So, in general, waiting waste can be caused by unbalanced workload, unplanned downtime, long setup time, insufficient workforce, poor process quality. And the countermeasures for avoiding waiting are continuous one piece flow, where you design a process so that the flow is continuous and there is minimum waste in between the steps. Use the standard operating procedures. Desi- Develop a value stream mapping for your product. The fifth category of waste is overproduction. That means producing more than your customer is requesting or before they request it. That means you actually exceeding the customer demand, which leads to additional cost. Actually, overproduction triggers the other six categories of waste. The reason is that with excessive products or tasks, additional transportation, excessive motion, greater waiting time is required. And if occasionally a defect appears during this overproduction time, it means that your team have to work more to build more units. Overproduction ties up with capacity, material, time, and other resources that are not needed. In fact, you are paying today what you may need to pay 1 week from now. This is a serious type of waste because it leads to excess inventory that often adds to the additional cost. Overproduction in general is caused by if you have following this just in case production strategy, your customer needs are not very clear, you have a very long setup time, production based on forecast or poor applied automations. And when we talk about the countermeasures for overproduction, so that is the just in time, follow the when you need the product only order at that time. Then you have the takt time, cycle time, and lead time, where you pace your production so that the rate of manufacturing matches the rate of customer demand. And single minute exchange of dies, where you reduce the setup time to smaller batches that can be economically manufactured. The sixth category of waste is overprocessing. That is the additional process or steps that does not add any value to the end customer. This is often one of the most difficult ways to detect and eliminate. This type of waste usually reflects on doing work that does not bring additional value or bring more value than the required by customer. Such things can add additional features or to the product that nobody is going to use, but they increase your business cost and the cost of the end product. For example, if you are a car manufacturer and decides to put a TV screen in the back trunk of vehicle, probably nobody will use it or find it valuable. Even more, it will cost resources. It will also increase the end price of a product for something that customers are not willing to pay for it. So, what are the countermeasures for avoiding this overprocessing? Compare the customer requirements to the manufacturing specification, simplification of manufacturing process the re-evaluation, develop a value stream mapping, and some of the examples that we can find out for overprocessing could be the over-designed equipments like this. Then we have the re-entering of data and duplication of data, misunderstood of customer needs. The seventh category of waste is a defect. So defect occurs when the product is not fit for use. Every organization fear this word defect because it adds to rework. The process needs to be redoing or reviewing the whole system, which increases the cost and requires more manpower. Defect can cause rework or even worse can lead to scrap. Usually the defective work should go back to production again, which costs the valuable time. Moreover, in some cases, the extra reworking area is required, which comes with additional exploitation of labor and tools. And defect could also be any product which does not meet the customer expectation and must be replaced. Replacing defect cost human resources and potential loss of customers and thus revenue. The production that is scrapped or requires rework has to be taken care. Some of the causes of rework or defect can be the poor quality control system, poor repair and documentation, lack of standards, weak and missing processes, untrained workers. And the countermeasures for avoiding the defect You can have a poker UK as a system, Jidoka, have it identify the root cause of a defect, and the standardize work. Create a work instructions that provide a consistent method of manufacturing a part. The eighth and the last category of waste is the unutilized skill, an extremely important form of waste that is hardly recognized within the seven deadly waste. So one of the reasons that this form of waste is underutilized or even ignored by companies is that the responsibility for it lies squarely on the shoulders of management. Unused human potential often results from management policies and management styles that diminish the employee's contribution. In general, unutilized skill can be caused by wasteful admin tasks, poor communication, lack of teamwork, lost motivation and lost creativity, insufficient training and lack of ideas. And the countermeasures for avoiding this unutilized skill can be proper communication channel, hiring competent workforce, proper training plan, and skill based job. So these are your 8 deadly waste. When we talk about the goal of lean manufacturing is to eliminate all these waste, giving your production system a big advantage. However, it is easy to identify all these wastes, but it is much more difficult to remove them from the system. Additionally, do not also neglect the other two evils, Mura and Muri, that is unevenness and overburden. They also have a significant negative effect on your manufacturing system. So that is all I have on this video. See you soon in my next video.